Hey everyone, this is Michael Kelsey. I'm going to stumble through an actual real life scenario that I dealt with today, just to kind of give you an idea of some of the things that I do as a database developer and database administrator in Microsoft SQL Server. I do have sometimes have a hard time coming up with these videos that I want to show people to show my skills because many of the videos that I do will at some point show somebody's name or any kind of personal identifying information. Even if sometimes I think that I haven't shown any, I will review the video and I'll realize that if you hit the escape button or something, you'll be able to see something as the records whiz by. And so I've actually yanked a bunch of my videos off, and I do want to have some videos. Anyway, what I what I will tell you is today I dealt with a particularly sticky situation regarding a legacy application, legacy being just like old. In this case, it's a really classic, terrible scenario of a legacy application because there's no real documentation to be had for this system. It is an electronic health record system that we um, transferred away from about 7 years ago. The application is on its last legs, and we can't even. It's gotten to the point where we actually are not able to reinstall it. Although there's no real updates, there hasn't been updates in about 7 or 8 years to the application, and really the company doesn't exist any longer. It was purchased by someone else, and then that company was purchased by someone else, and this whole application has basically just been lost in time. So here I am. We don't have we The application still works, thankfully, but I mean it's gotten down to the point where we have like just a handful of computers that still have it, and I still have it loaded on the actual database server just as a last resort. The database server that it is on is about 15 years old at this point, and it's in a I believe it's in Microsoft SQL Server 2005. So this is going to be a doorstop any moment. So my task, because this is electronic health records, this is PHI, that we do need to try to keep a hold of, at least in terms of the documents, that I'm going to try to recreate the reports in a way that I can hold on to it. I've taken the database itself and put it into a newer database server. So at least we have the data. The application itself will not touch this new database server. It doesn't work. I'm not exactly sure why, but it will not function, and we can't call them and ask them to do anything about it anyway. So regardless, so here's the situation. I need to get the report data out for about 80 different types of reports. And our clients are mental health and developmental disabilities and substance abuse. So sometimes their families or they or other people, doctors, do contact the medical records here, and they do ask for these reports. So it's important that we try to provide them. So I need to figure out how to get the data for these reports, these 80 different reports. The schema is just absolutely atrocious. So we've got about 80 plus tables that have about 240 to up to 250 different fields, various fields. And depending on what the report is, there might be a value in one of the columns or there might not. In any one table, and I actually, very awkwardly and time consuming, I stumbled through pretty much all the tables just looking to try to figure out where these columns were and what was in them and kind of try to get an idea of what was going on so I could at least start to approach it. And I found this situation so cumbersome, and I was having a hard time just even keeping organized. I was trying to keep notes as I was going along, but eventually I got to the point where I understood where the data was and what was going on, to the point where I could stop and say, "Hey, Michael, you need to stop just looking for stuff. Stop looking for the needles in the haystack And you need to create some tools because here you are, you're creating one report and you're kind of learning what's going on and you're figuring things out. But you got another 79 reports where the data is going to be in another column in another bunch of tables. So I said I need to make some changes to what I'm doing. I need to stop, think about getting into the system tables, figuring out where the data is, and that sort of thing, and really save myself some time by doing some preliminary work up front. So what do I have? I have a treatment plan ID. And for this treatment plan ID, that ID corresponds to a particular kind of report. It also corresponds to a particular client, which that's very helpful. And pretty much all of these tables that have this report data are going to have a column called TRT underscore uh, PLAN underscore ID. So treatment plan ID, but not all of them. But first thing I need to do to start off what I did today is I said, I need to just create a view, which is the one you're looking at. Sorry for the boring view, the view of the view. But I need to just figure out what are all the tables that start off with TRCL, because these tables, and you can see there's 85 of them, this is where my data is. And okay, so I got that. So what I did is I created a nifty little view here that just goes into sys tables and says, give me the names of all the tables that start with TRCL. And here they are, 85. Okay, so another thing I need to do once I've gotten that done is I need to go through all those tables that are in this query, and I need to find the ones, only the ones that have the column that I need in order to look for the report data, which is, as I said, TRT underscore plan underscore ID. So I wrote a little query here that creates a cursor, and it goes through each one of the tables, and it says, if column length table name trend plan ID is not null, what that's doing is it's looking in that table and it's asking them if there's any column with any kind of length called treatment plan ID. And if so, then it's going to write the name of that table to another table. And then I'm going to have all my tables that I need to look at in a table. So this is going to be good for the report that I'm designing now. It's going to be good for every report I will design from now on. So in other words, the other 79. That's done one time. I don't need to worry about that anymore. Here's an example of what I was doing to create this is a wellness center intake. And this is, I'm actually going to go through, I'm going to find the different spots where all the data is. I'm going to stick it into a table. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do like, because we need to get this data out of this very old, sort of badly designed database that, doesn't really work anymore. And we need to put it into more of a data warehousing situation. So a data store where the data is put, that the data is well organized and it's indexable, which it really is not at the moment. And it's sort of designed specifically for the reports. This database is not, there's no inserts, there's no updates, there's no deleting going on at this point. It's just legacy data. So take that legacy data and stick it somewhere where that data is actually going to work. Some of the reports that run out of the system take ages, just ages to run. So far, I'm running the report that I'm designing. It's taking, a second. I mean, it's not really that bad at all. So that's kind of something that you need to deal with when it comes to legacy applications. So having done that, I got my table of names that I'm going to be looking at. And now what do I have to do? I have to go through each table, and I need to go through each column of each table, And I need to just see if there's anything in that column. That's just to start with. That's how miserable this is. um, and this is what I was doing basically manually for several days while I was kind of figuring out what I needed to do. So I said, no, I can't do this. I can't keep doing this. And I kept looking at the same tables over and over again, like looking for stuff. I said, no, this is not going to work. So now I have a second stored procedure with a, this is where it gets a little tricky. What I'm doing here is I'm going to send this stored procedure the table name, and I'm going to send it the value for the treatment plan ID. And what it's going to do is it's going to go through each column on that in that table, and it's going to it's going to find that the column names through a cursor in the information dot underscore schema dot columns for the table name. It's going to go through each column, and I pass it the treatment plan ID because by passing it the treatment plan ID, I'm going to get the results for that particular type of report. I can also I can actually go into the still barely remaining application. I can run that report and I can get that treatment plan ID, and then I have the report that I'm trying to recreate. So I can cross-check. But okay, so I'm sending it the table name, I'm sending it the treatment plan ID, and what it's going to do is it's going to go through each column in that table, and it's going to see if there's anything in the column. For instance, they have enormous blobs of text that go into this report. And so in the column, it will actually have a number. And what the number is, the number associates with a different table where the text is at. So for each type of report, I have to know where to go and look for the number. And then from the number, I can go to another table and actually get the value. So this is what I'm dealing with here. Okay, so this is great. It goes through every column. If it finds something that has any kind of value in it, it shoots it over and it saves it into another table. And in this one, I created the table Hannah dot underscore columns. Hannah is like this is the application is called Anasazi. So this is historical Anasazi columns. It also sort of puts out the values. I'm only saving in my table the ones where there is a value in the column, but I'm just putting it all out, the ones and the zeros, in my interface as I run the thing. Okay, store procedure number 3. This is one that is also just a tool. It's going through. I'm sending it in a cursor. I'm having it go through each one of the tables, and that this would be the tables that start with TRCL and which have the treatment plan ID column in the table. So it's going through each one of them, and it's sending it the table name, and it's sending it the treatment plan ID, and then it's going to go back. This is where it's actually all the magic happens. It's going through that table, it's going through the columns, it's seeing if there's something in there or not, and then it's sending it to a database table. So I ran this. This is what it looked like. You see it after, because I'm actually sending it the treatment plan ID, and that's going to be the same treatment plan ID for each table. And it already has it gets the tables from the select statement attached to the cursor. So this is the kind of an idea of what's going on here. Each one of the tables is going through. This one actually had a lot of values. This is but most of them are like this. Check out this one. There's almost none of the columns have a value. There's maybe a lot of them just had like one or two. Each one has a treatment plan ID, of course. That's always going to have something in it, but it's went through all of the tables, and and it gave me my ones and it gave me my zeros. So now what am I going to do? I'm going to go up. These are all the views I've written over the years. And here's the actual tables of the database. And here is my table. And here's my values. Got your table name, you got your column name. And this obviously is not necessary, but I just put it in there just so you could see. So here's a much more valuable and much more limited, usable bunch of table names and column names. So this is 223 rows. A lot of them are like treatment plan ID. I don't need that for each one. Obviously, I'm just going to probably delete those. But having done that, I believe the actual number of columns that it went through was in the 25,000 range, something like that. It was completely insane that I've gotten it down to 223, which after I, delete all of the obvious ones that I don't really need to look at, or it'll probably be more like 150, something like that. So there it is. This is something, that I did today, and I might, if I come up with another tool on top of that to make this process even easier, I will make it on the fly. And right now I'm feeling real good about, I started off with a load of work that I just seemed incredible. It seemed insurmountable. And now with some quick tools that I made with SQL Server, using dynamic SQL, using the schema tables, the internal tables, I've been able to narrow things down to a manageable amount of work. And still not the most exciting thing, but hey, now I can get paid. So, so thank you very much if you've watched this far.